All right, for all you seasoned auditors out there, you know the landscape is changing, and it is changing fast. Today, we're going to dive into the new global standard that's absolutely set to redefine our profession, ISSA 5000. So let's kick things off with a big question, one that really bridges the gap between what you already know and this whole new world. How in the world do you audit a carbon footprint for fraud? That's the core question we're going to explore today. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to break down this new standard by basically following the natural flow of an audit. We'll start with the foundational mindset, dealing with fraud risk, and then we'll walk all the way through to finalizing the engagement and signing off on that report. So, what is ISSA 5000 really? Well, you can think of it as the brand new global playbook for sustainability assurance. For the first time ever, we have one single comprehensive standard that you can apply to pretty much any sustainability topic. We're talking everything from greenhouse gas emissions to water usage, even supply chain labor practices. This is huge because it creates a much-needed global baseline for quality, especially now when investors and regulators are basically demanding consistency and reliability. Now, as we get into the nitty-gritty, let's talk about maybe the most important tool you have in this new landscape: your professional skepticism. Seriously, ISSA 5000 puts a huge emphasis on this. It's really positioned as your first and your best line of defense against the unique risks you're going to see in sustainability reporting, especially that heightened potential for material misstatement due to fraud or, management just overriding the controls. And this isn't just about, questioning the final numbers. No. It's about critically questioning the entire data collection process. Let's be real, sustainability data is often way less mature and standardized than financial data. So you have to be constantly on your toes. You've got to be asking, where did this data actually come from? How was it calculated? Who had the chance to influence it? And maybe most importantly, is it being presented in a way that, while maybe technically correct, is actually pretty misleading? And this quote right from the standard really hits the nail on the head. It highlights a key point. Fraud in sustainability reporting, it isn't always about someone just making up numbers out of thin air. It can be way more subtle than that. Think about a company that strategically just omits unfavorable data from one of its factories. Or maybe they use biased, super optimistic estimates for their future emissions reductions. See? That's exactly where a deeply skeptical mindset becomes absolutely crucial. Okay, so what do you do if you suspect something is, off? ISF 5000 gives you a really clear roadmap. You don't just make a note and move on. No, you have to dig in. You have to understand the nature of what happened, the circumstances, and then figure out how it might have contaminated the rest of the report. This means you have to basically reassess the reliability of everything management has told you. It's a very systematic way to handle a very serious issue. All right, let's get into the real core of the fieldwork: finding and, more importantly, fixing misstatements. This is where your detailed testing procedures hit the real world, and it's where your skills in gathering evidence and evaluating errors really get to shine. Now, this slide points out a really key distinction that's going to drive a lot of your work: the level of assurance. Look, for a limited assurance engagement, you're pretty much just asking questions to understand their process. But for reasonable assurance, you have to go that critical step further and get hard evidence. It's the difference between asking, "Hey, did you make any material adjustments?" and saying, "Show me the proof for those adjustments, and now let me redo the calculation myself." And communication here is absolutely key. You've got to be direct. You've got to be clear. Just like in a financial audit, you accumulate all the misstatements you find, not just the ones you think are material, and you tell management about them right away. Then you formally ask them to fix it. But here's the most important part. You can't just take their word for it. Nope. You have to go back in, do more work, and actually verify that the corrections were made and that they really did get rid of the misstatement. So, you're almost there. You're at the finish line. But hold on. There are a few more really crucial steps you have to take before you can issue that report. These final checks, they're what make your assurance report truly robust and defensible. They're there to protect you and to protect the integrity of the information for everyone who's going to rely on it. Let's quickly walk through the 3 big things that need your attention here: subsequent events, what the standard calls other information, and finally, getting those incredibly important written representations from management. And look, this isn't just a checklist to tick off. These are active areas of risk that you have to manage right up to the very end. So your job is not over when the reporting period ends. Not by a long shot. You need to keep an eye out for any big events that happen between that date and the day you actually sign your report. For instance, what if a new environmental law gets passed that makes a company's emissions targets totally obsolete? Or what if a big pollution event is discovered after the year end? These things could have a major impact, and you have to make sure the sustainability report reflects them. This is a fantastic example of why you need to see the big picture. You just can't audit a sustainability report in a vacuum. The standard requires you to read the other parts of the annual report to make sure the company's story is consistent. If the CEO's letter to shareholders is talking about how amazingly green the company is, but the emissions data you just assured tells a completely different story, well, that's a huge red flag you have to deal with. And last but certainly not least, you gotta get it in writing. Look, this isn't just about covering your bases. It's about getting a formal commitment from senior management and the board. It confirms they stand behind their data, they acknowledge it's their responsibility, and that they've been totally transparent with you. This is a really critical piece of your audit evidence. So what's the bottom line here? What does all this mean? Look, this is a big change. There's no question about it. But more than that, it's a massive opportunity for auditors to expand their role, to bring their unique skills to a new and incredibly important area, and to add even more value to the capital markets. The most important thing to remember is this: you already have the core skills you need to succeed in this new era. All that rigor, the professional judgment, the skepticism, the discipline you've honed over your entire career, that is exactly what's needed to bring trust and credibility to sustainability reporting. This is about applying your expertise, not throwing it away and starting over. Look, ISA 50000 is more than just a new standard. It's really a call to action. It's a chance for our whole profession to step up and play a crucial role in building the trust that's going to underpin a more sustainable, more transparent global economy. So the real question for you is, are you ready to meet that challenge?